Welcome to another episode of So You're Ready to Date, the podcast. This is going to be what am I going to call it? We're talking about settling. We're going to talk about, are we settling in our relationships? Good, bad. Sometimes it's a good thing. Can it be a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Do we know when we're settling? Have we recognized these points? I think it's almost like it's a buzzword of you're settling for crumbs, you're settling for the bare minimum. Are you? Do you need to have a conversation about that? Do you even know what settling for you looks like? So I think this is another one of those topics where we're going to get deep. We're going to talk about how we've settled in the past, because we've all done it. We've all had those relationships in our 20s, 30s, maybe even our 40s. Where you think it's going to be, oh, this is fine, this is good enough, until it's not. Or maybe it'll, do you ever notice? I don't know. What do you think, Angie?
No, I do. And I think we've all been raised differently. And I am just gonna dive right in. And maybe I should apologize in advance to my ex-husband, but we're gonna spend some time probably talking about him in this episode because I got married when I was 24, I think is how old I was. Like I know the date, but I don't remember how exactly. Anyways, I think I was 24. That was a long time ago. Oh, wait, not that long ago. Anyways.
You gotta clarify, like, wait, stop. I don't want to say that makes me old because I gotta rewind that.
Right, I'm only 29 again. Anyways, 29 and holding. When I got married, we got engaged and we're going through the motion. And I found out before we got married that I should not have married him. I knew before we got married, but we had already, my parents had already invested, everything was already booked. I thought we could work through it. And so I went through with it anyway. And I knew that I was settling before I even got married. And looking back, would I change things? Probably. But there was a lot to it at that point in time, but a lot of that came from my lack of self-esteem, my lack of self-confidence. And so while I was settling because that relationship wasn't right, and don't get me wrong, we were married for 12 years, so it's not like it was a 6-month marriage or something like that. But I settled. And then for many, many, many years in my relationship, I didn't talk to people about the experience that I was going through because I felt like I deserved it, because I had said yes when I knew that I shouldn't have. And I made my own bed, and it was my responsibility to lay in it. And it was my responsibility to sleep in it. And it was my responsibility to stay there. And so my wish for all of our listeners and for you, Lisa, and for everybody else is that nobody else goes through what I did. If you know that it's not right, oh, by all means, you deserve more. Don't settle. He deserved more. I deserved more. The relationship was not right. Neither one of us are bad people, but the relationship was just not right for us, and we both deserved more.
Oof. Because I think that's a huge part of why we end up in those relationships, right? Because I can think about that. I'm like, but I don't want to disappoint blank. And my name is never first. It's never, I don't want to disappoint myself. I don't want to disappoint them because this person is invested in a relationship with me. I don't want to disappoint my parents because they love this person, or I don't want to disappoint. So I have this list of people in some of my other relationships where I'm like, I can't. Like you said, it was a self-esteem, self-confidence thing. Where like, I don't value my needs and myself enough to want to put myself first, because if I do that, somebody's going to feel bad and I'm going to be responsible for that. And to me, that was a bridge too far. I might actually be the villain in somebody's story. And I can't do that. I'm the good girl. I'm the nice one. I'm the one that everybody like. I can't be the mean one or the bad one, but then my boundaries are non-existent and they're run over, and you find yourself in these situations where like, how in the hell did I end up here? This is not where it started, but now I'm in this relationship where in my 20s I was the side chick for a good long while and was happy, and I was not happy about it, but at the point I'm like, well, that's what I deserve, right? That's what he's willing to give me. So I should just accept that because, he's one of the first guys who's paying some attention to me in this long while. And then I get it in my head where I'm like, well, if this is all I'm worth to him, then why would I want to go looking for anything else? Because this is all I'm worthy of. This is all I deserve. And that's a real kick in the guts to be like, is this really what I deserve? And how do I get out of this place where I'm getting so much less than what I really want?
Yes. And coming full circle on that too, I knew that going in and it wasn't what I wanted and the relationship wasn't right. And we won't talk about all the reasons for that. Some of us can probably imagine. And come around and it's time to separate and end that relationship that should never have been in existence. And I had still the same fear of disappointing other people rather than finding a way for myself to grow and flourish, because divorce is fine. You can go get a divorce and I'm still going to love you and I'm going to support you and I'm going to tell you that it's the right thing. But that's not what my family does. That's not what people in my life do. And so what are they going to think of me if I do this? Like, I'm fine. I won't hold it against me, but what is everybody else going to think of me? So I can't go do that because everybody else is going to hold it against me. And what's everybody else going to think? And how is everybody else going to feel about me changing the life that I'm living to make myself happier? And that too, are you settling and staying? Not that you couldn't fix the relationship, and I'm not telling anybody to leave a relationship, but I'm also telling you to give yourself permission to take the steps that are right for you, whether that means going to a couples counselor, getting a coach, whether that means leaving and getting a separation, whether that means a divorce, whether that means taking steps inside your own relationship to rekindle it and bring some of that romance and passion and rightness back to it. Like, all of that stuff is possible. And there are so many different ways to go, but take a serious look at it. And are you making decisions based on how other people are going to feel about your decisions? Or are you making decisions based on how you're going to feel about your decisions?
Well, damn, right?
Today, sorry, I feel a little passionate about this one.
Well, I think that has been like a major part of my healing process and my journey is healing that people pleaser part where trying to be the martyr all the time and just sacrificing myself to keep others warm, that kind of that quote that floats around out there. And I think I don't know that is settling necessarily a bad thing. So I mean, I know just throwing that out there, I'm like, can you settle and be happy? I don't know. We come at it from this aspect of love is supposed to be this great grand uh orchestra, fireworks, uh fairy tale kind of thing. And I think in some respects that's is that fine? Is this not realistic feeling to me? But on the other hand, what if you don't want something that feels like this big grand fairy tale thing? What if you're okay settling for something that maybe just feels comfortable, that just feels this will get me by for now?
I'm going to challenge that a little bit though. Like, it doesn't feel like that all the time. So here's where I think we as humans and get ourselves in trouble. Is we have that feeling in the beginning, and then as soon as that feeling dies, we feel like we're settling. And the thing is, when that feeling dies, when the butterflies go away and things calm down and you're ready to start your life together and you're deciding if someone is the one, we think that we still have to have all of those butterflies and fireworks and all of those feelings. And yeah, maybe they pop up a time or two, but love lasting and lasting relationships take work. And just because it takes work doesn't mean that you're settling. Anything worth having is worth working for. So I don't think that that means that you're settling if it is comfortable and you're happy. If you have a true joy in your relationship, if you come home and you are excited to see your partner and you are excited to spend time with your partner, that's not what settling looks like. That's what finding the right match looks like, but it may not feel like fireworks and butterflies all of the time, I guess is my interpretation and my perception on that.
I saw something scrolling the other day that there have to be a honeymoon phase? Why does it have to end? Why? But again, it's that work part of, I think you get 6 months or whatever it is, and it's a honeymoon phase and you can't keep your hands off each other and everything's wonderful. But why does it have to have an end date? And I think you're right that we forget that there's this work component that it's just supposed to come natural and easy if it's the right relationship. Yeah, you might have moments where it just flows and everything feels comfortable, but that's not life, right? That's not how life works. You're going to have a point where somebody gets sick, somebody loses a job, some major life event happens, and you have to figure out how to navigate that with this person. And so it almost feels like we set ourselves up for this failure because we've let ourselves be conditioned that if it's hard, it's wrong, right? If it's hard and it doesn't flow just smooth all the time, then this can't be the right person because it's just supposed to be easy and loving and just this smooth sailing all the time. So then all of a sudden, when we hit these hiccups, we're like, what the actual heck here? Because that's not what I was sold. And I think there's this idea of we need to adjust how we approach relationships, being like, okay, yeah, it's fun and it's nice now, but is this something that I want to fight for? Because if you're not gonna, if you're like 2 months, 6 months in, you're like, it's fun. It'll be as fun while it lasts, but it doesn't feel like anything I want to have difficult conversations about, want to work towards, want to make better, then I don't know if it's not necessarily settling. I think it's slightly delusional to think that it's just going to be like rainbows and unicorns and butterflies the whole time. But knowing that, yeah, it's going to require some effort, whether that's talking, whether that's therapy, whether that's 100 other different things that you do, but you're going to have to work for it. And like, again, it's not necessarily settling, but there may come a time where you don't have fireworks. And that was a big thing that I was like, I didn't want fireworks because fireworks are unstable. They're fun and they're pretty for a moment, but I wanted somebody who was going to make me feel safe. And that's a very different feeling to chase. Maybe not chase is not the right word for safe, but I think we chase the fireworks, we chase the butterflies. And when we lose that, we think, well, this one's done. I need to go find the next one who's going to give me that. Where can we change and shift those initial feelings, if that's really what you're looking for, into finding that in a different way within that relationship, if it's something that you want to make work?
Yes, I think when I think of settling, I guess what comes to mind for me is very different than a relationship that I want to make work. When it comes to settling, it's I have a list of things that I want, and I may have or may not have a list of things that I know that I don't want. You can't know what you do want until you know what you don't want. So I have this list of things that I want, and I might have a list of things that I don't want, may or may not. And when I think of settling, I think of finding a partner that meets a few things on the list. and they're not meeting everything, but they're meeting a few things. And I feel like I'm never going to find anybody better. I'm never going to find anybody that fits on my list. So this is who I'm sticking with, and I have to make this work. And whether that is just because they make me feel safe, but they miss everything else on the list, like you were talking about, that's great that they make me feel safe, but there's more than one person out there that would make me feel safe. Are they checking the boxes on the list? And are they meeting my requirements for a partner? The things that I want in a life partner that are going to be meaningful to me and match my core values and are worth fighting for. And if they have one or two, but I have a list of 10, that's where I feel that's what settling looks like. And at that point, I now know I deserve better.
Yeah. The last kind of like guy I was dating before the relationship I'm in now, it was everything was very much on his terms. And like you said, we hit like a couple of the same boxes. We had similar interests. We had easy conversation. We had a lot of fun when we were together. And yeah, there was this point of it's good enough for now. At least I have this. This is better than nothing. And yes, I had created a list. And yes, I kind of had some non negotiables, but it was this is okay for now. And then I met my current partner and I'm like, oh, so this is why we have non negotiables. Because when they hit these things that we really need and want from a relationship, you're like, whoa. Because we've had this conversation like, this has got to be too good to be true because we match each other in ways that we haven't with other people. And so it feels weird and foreign. And we're like, is this how it's supposed to happen? Is this right? Because it kind of feels weird for everything to have fallen into place in such a way where it's just like he made the comment the other day, it's like a hand in a glove, where it just like, of course it fits, of course it makes sense. And I'm just like, oh, should I be looking for other stuff? I'm like, no, he's hitting what you wanted and what you need. And I can see clearly now how I settled. Obviously 2020 hindsight is 2020, right? So I can see clearly how it was never going to work with some of those other relationships because they weren't anywhere close to getting to some of the things on my list. And then you find the person who does and you're like, please don't let me screw it up. Please don't let me screw it up. Please don't let me screw it up. Because it gets to this point where I'm like, I've had to do a lot of soul searching and work for myself of being like, yes, I deserve this. All of this work that I've done to get myself to this healing point made it so that when I saw a man who was hitting these points and hitting these marks and giving me everything I wanted, that I would see the value in that and the value in him as a person and a partner and be like, nope, you're mine. I licked you. You're mine. You're not going anywhere. That was probably too much information, but
that's funny.
That was the thought in my head. I'm like, no, it was almost like he was the prize that I got for doing the hard work, for asking myself those hard questions, for all of the tears and the therapy sessions and all of the soul searching and the work that I had to do to heal some of those things. He's also, it's been a relationship that has pointed out the blind spots I've had in some of the things I need to work on, which has been frustrating in its own way. But, that healing journey is never linear, thank goodness. But really kind of highlighted the fact that, God, I wish I would have met him sooner, but I don't know if that version of Lisa would have known that he was such a catch. But knowing that I didn't settle and I didn't let myself get lost in other relationships meant that when I finally found somebody who feels very right for me and where I am and where my life is, like, oh, this is why you hold out to find somebody who can match you the way you want and deserve to be matched.
Yes, and I love that story. And for all of us that's out there, right? The person, people, there's more than one. It's not like there is just one person in the whole world for you. There are more people than that are going to match with what's on your list, but having a very defined list and not settling for less than that. Now, I am not talking about you need somebody with blue eyes and blonde hair who's 6'5" and wears a size 9 shoe. That's not what I'm talking about. But are you looking for somebody who's kind to puppies and kisses babies? Or are you looking for somebody who likes travel and adventure and somebody who values integrity or values safety? What are your values? What are the core personality traits? Not physical traits, but those personality traits that you relate to and match so that when you're together, your goals are the same. You're driving the bus in the same direction. You may end up in the wrong seat occasionally and have some disagreements and whatever. And it can be work. Things happen in life and we get tired and our mindset changes. And sometimes if we're not standing guard, our relationship can take a backseat to other things. And each person has to put 100% into the relationship. So the work, when that newness wears off and when that exciting feeling wears off, does it still feel like coming home? When you find that person, does it feel like coming home? And if that answer is yes, then even if the spark has died, even if you think that you're not in a space that it's worth fighting for, that can still be turned around because you found your person as long as they met your list.
Yes. Yeah. And I think giving that relationship permission to change as you change, because obviously you're not the person you were 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. So finding that person who wants you to grow. I saw this quote the other day is that to be with somebody who challenges you to be a better you, not a different you. And I think that was something that him and I have talked a lot about is like, when I'm with him, I want to be better, not different. I just that strive and that drive to want to do more and be better because it's not just about me, it's about an us. But like you said, it may not be exactly the same in the beginning, but you can find that new spark because now you're different people. It's a kind of a different relationship. How can you make it fun, exciting, and feel new with the people that you are now? And how does that look for you?
Yes, and I love what you said. Be a better you, not a different you. And I think that that deserves an episode in the future all on its own. So we might have to bring that. But that's one of the things. It doesn't matter what direction I go. I can come to the table with something way out in left field and say, this is the direction that I'm going with my life starting right now. And he would come up behind me and say, go for it. I know you can do it. I've watched how far you've come. Let's go do it. And not a let's go do it. You go do it. I'm going to stand here on the sidelines and cheer you on. That's the type of person that he is, which is fine. But that supportiveness, that it doesn't matter what I do. He says, I know you can do it. Go do it. And when I'm tired of doing something and I need to take a rest, he's like, you fought really hard. Go ahead, take a nap. Take a nap. You can come back to it or you can go a different direction. And so I love that it is the support. And that was also something that was important to me and supporting me, but not encouraging me to do things his way because he doesn't like my way. He was originally attracted to me as a person, me in my own right and the way that I am, and not changing directions and deciding to start a podcast this week and deciding to travel to Africa next week and deciding to sell journals online in 3 weeks. Like, that's who I am. That's what I do. I change directions. I shoot from the hip. That's part of who I am. And for him to come in and realize that, and then if he were to come in and try to change that about me or to fix me, that would be a great example of settling. And at this point, I know that I'm worthy of more and I know who I am. And I know that I need somebody who can stand up and support whatever it is that I choose to do.
I think that's a big aha moment, at least for me, and I think it could be for a lot of people, is being so secure in knowing who you are as a person and what you want and your dreams and your desires and your goals. And for me, and this is the same thing, that was something that attracted him to me, was that I knew very clearly what I wanted and what I wasn't going to settle for. I knew where my business was going, where my career is going. We had this conversation the other day. I'm like, he is a whole complete person. I am a whole complete person. We want to come together and do couple stuff, but I want him to have his life. He wants me to have my life. And we want to combine it in a way that works for us. So he still wants to do his thing. I still want to do my thing. And then that gives us stuff to come back together and share and bring into our lives more fully. But I don't need to be enmeshed with him and he doesn't with me. That wouldn't work for us. I've been single and independent way too long to want to lose myself in a relationship. I found myself kind of falling into that trap, but I think that awareness piece was like, wait, I think we're getting all upset about these things because we're trying to wrap ourselves in the identity of this relationship. I am a complete person. I need to start making plans and doing the things that bring me joy, because that's the person that he fell in love with. And that's the person that I want to show up as, is somebody who has all of these weird, off the wall, unique things that they want to try. and and he has always 100%, yeah, do it. I can't wait to hear about it. And that's what I needed, is somebody who doesn't necessarily need to be with me and do all of the things, but was going to be the cheerleader saying, go do it. I want to see pictures. I want to see stories when you get back.
Now, if you find that person, if you want that person to go do that stuff with you, that's great too.
Yes.
But sometimes you just have to find the friend that's going to do these things with you, so that you can come back and tell your significant other about your experiences, because they may or may not be as adventurous or more adventurous than you are. So it's give yourself permission for your relationship to look however it looks. However, you did say something, and I don't even remember what the quote is, but the story, and I don't know if you've ever heard it, the tree and the branch, and the bird sits on the branch, and the bird can sit there very calmly because the bird doesn't trust the branch to hold it up. It trusts its own wings. So whether or not the branch breaks. And that's kind of the way that it is with the relationship. You are coming to the relationship, but you are not depending on that relationship to hold you up. Your wings are holding you up, but that branch or that relationship is it can be a foundation for you. It can be someplace for you to come home and rest. But regardless of whether or not that branch breaks, you're going to be okay.
Yes, that was huge, because I'm like, you are either adding to my life or you're not in my life. I don't need you to save me. I don't need you to rescue me. I don't need this big grand thing. I need you to add value to my life. Otherwise, I don't have time for that, because I've spent time building a life I love that is valuable to me. So you're either going to add to it or you're not in it. That's our options here.
I love that. I love that. So think about that. How is your significant other, or how is the relationship that you want, going to add value to your life? And really make that list. If you don't have a list, make that list so that you know what settling looks like for you versus what a full out relationship that's worth fighting for looks like.
Because I don't think you can just say, I'll know it when I see it. I feel like we get blinders on. So yes, having very clear ideas of what is and isn't good for you will only help you when you've got like those love goggles on.
I'll know it when I see it. Yeah, that might be true. But again, if you don't know what you truly want, something can look nice and shiny on the outside, and you can open it up and it can be pretty awful on the inside. Just saying.
I'm gonna bring another Ted Lasso reference in here, where he talked about the kid who used to poop in candy wrappers. Like, you never, I never saw it, but a couple people ate it, so it could look really good on the outside. But you open it up, and it could be something not so great.
Pile of whatever.
Right.
So, if you have topics that you want us to talk about, if this topic was helpful, or if you would like more information on what settling looks like and like us to dive a little bit deeper, drop us a line at soyou'readytodate@gmail.com. We always love hearing from you. And remember to come back next week for another great episode.